News at 6. First, the highlights. Governor Sanwo-Olu unveils 170 units of housing projects in Agboiketu local council development area. Wife of the president receives a Burundian ambassador to Nigeria. On the foreign and Israeli army orders fresh evacuations in Gaza as fighting continues. In sport, Super Falcons retains 36th spot. Globally remains first in Africa in FIFA's latest ranking. Now the details. I am Taiwo Baruwa. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has unveiled 170 units of housing projects in Agboiketu local council development area of Lagos State. Governor Sanwo-Olu commended the chairman of the LCDA for his continuous effort to raise the bar of governance and ensuring purposeful development for people to enjoy the dividends of democracy. Noted that local government and local council development areas in the state are working well. The governor pledged to ensure that Lagos will continue to have an irreversible trajectory of development in housing, health care delivery, education, tourism, as well as road and public transportation solutions.
5 years, I think we're number 19 or 20 of various housing estates that we as a state government have handed over, excluding the ones that the local government and the LCDAs are doing. And so you can see that we are about purposeful development, about ensuring that we can provide affordable, safe, secure accommodation for our teeming population. Once again, I want to congratulate the people of Agboiketu for having a working local government chairman.
The chairman of Agboiketu Local Council Development Area, Dele Oshinawo, who expressed gratitude to the Sanwo-Olu administration for the tremendous support, said the housing initiative spearheaded by his administration through creation of Agboiketu Properties and Investment Board in collaboration with the private sector aims to align with the sustainable development goals by providing affordable, accessible and quality housing to address housing deficits in the state.
Your presence underscores our administration's unwavering commitment to delivering monumental progress across all sectors of governance. I am proud to declare that our residents are thrilled to once again receive you for the third time to inaugurate projects undertaken by our administration. Furthermore, our administration places great emphasis on infrastructure development as a means to enhance human capital and stimulate economic growth.
Oshinawa added that the housing project exemplifies the strongest collaboration with the Theme Plus agenda of the Sanwo-Olu administration. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has agreed to partner the Joint Tax Board (JTB) to encourage his counterparts in other states to embrace new revenue generation drive across the country for the overall benefits of residents. Governor Sanwo-Olu made this pledge when he received the Executive Secretary of the Joint Tax Board, Olusegun Adesokun, and the management team on a courtesy visit at Lagos House, Ikeja. The governor informed the delegation about the various steps Lagos has taken in its direction and also the recently launched Lagos Revenue Portal to encourage business-friendly environment. Earlier, Executive Secretary of the Joint Tax Board, Olusegun Adesokun, commended the Lagos State government for professionalism of the State Revenue Generating Authority and all the administration's investment and interventions in health, education, transportation, infrastructure renewal, and security. The Joint Tax Board Executive Secretary had earlier called for consistency in the leadership of tax revenue generating authorities across the country and urged Governor Sanwo-Olu to champion the agenda among his colleagues in other states for overall benefits of Nigerians. The Lagos State government, through the Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, has announced commencement of verification and completeness of records of properties managed by Lagos State Urban Renewal Agency, LASURA. In a statement, General Manager LASURA, Oladimeji Animashaun, called for the submission of development lease agreement between LASURA and leases developers agents for verification and general public, particularly allottees of LASURA properties, to submit their document with the agency for verification and completeness of records. Animashaun said the document should be addressed and delivered to the Office of the Permanent Secretary, Urban Development, Ministry of Physical Planning and Urban Development, Alausa, Secretariat Ikeja, and copies be submitted at the Office of the General Manager of LASURA at PWD, Old Secretariat of Obakinjabi Way, Ikeja. He added that those concerned have till Wednesday, 11th of September, as failure to comply with the content of the notice may warrant revocation of the lease agreement by the agency. Lagos State government has announced traffic diversion at Ikeja Long bus stop between Ile-Zik and Corn Oil petrol station on the Oshodi-bound lane from Saturday 17th to Sunday 18th of August between the hours of 12 midnight and 4 a.m. daily to carry out the demolition of the old pedestrian bridge safely. Commissioner for Transportation Oluwaseun Oshiemi noted that following the diversion from Ile-Zik bus stop up to Cornwall filling station on the Oshodi-bound side of the road, only one lane will be available to motorists to ensure safety. Oshiemi explained that the traffic diversion will not affect motorists on the Dopomo Abuliegba bound side of the road during the course of the demolition. He called for the cooperation of the motoring public, adding that the lanes will be cordoned off with jersey barriers and protective nets to keep motorists and commuters safe during the period of the demolition, while traffic personnel will be on ground. Now to the rest of the stories. Wife of the president, Oluremi Tinubu, has suggested that for Africa to optimize her abundant natural resources and take a quantum leap in human development, the continent must look inward for solutions, starting with the right education for her youth. She gave this submission when she received in audience the Burundian ambassador to Nigeria, Edward Nduwimana, at State House Abuja. Mrs. Tinubu said the solution to Africa's challenges lies with Africans, noting that it is time for African countries to strengthen the bond of brotherhood among themselves for development on the continent. According to her, the days of taking the natural resources that the continent is endowed with for granted are over, and called on leaders to work towards empowering and enlisting youth in developmental effort. In his response, Burundian ambassador to Nigeria, Edward Nduwimana, said the visit was to register his country's appreciation for Mrs. Tinubu's interest and support for education. Nduwimana acknowledged that Burundi has had its fair share of a crisis, with the country now back on the path of peace and progress. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has directed the State Civil Service Commission to ensure that no information and communications technology staff in the State Civil Service is promoted without obtaining certification from the Computer Professionals Registration Council of Nigeria, CPN. CPN is a legal entity established in 1993, charged with controlling and supervising the computing profession in the country in partnership with the Nigeria Computer Society. The governor said that as part of the effort to eliminate quackery in the sector and promote the accelerated deployment and application of technology in the workplace, his administration is taking measures to fast-track ICT literacy. He said the move would enhance effective and efficient service delivery in the state. In foreign news, the Israeli army has ordered people in South and Central Gaza areas previously designated humanitarian safe zones to leave, saying Hamas had used the areas to fire mortars and rockets at Israel. Resident in Taiwo Baruwa, a last area still not entered by Israeli forces since the war began more than 10 months ago, said shelling had intensified and tanks had crossed a perimeter fence into the city. Israel said warning flyers and text messages had been sent out in the eastern part of Taiwo Baruwa and another area north of the city of Khan Yunis, where tens of thousands of people have sought shelter from fighting in other parts of Gaza. Commenting on the new evacuation order, the United Nations agency in Gaza, United Nations Relief and Works Agency, said the people are trapped in an endless nightmare of death and destruction on a staggering scale. In sport now, Nigeria's senior women's football team, the Super Falcons, has retained its 36th position in the latest global ranking by the Federation International de Football Association, FIFA. The Falcons also maintained their position as the top-ranked women's football team in Africa, according to the ranking released today. This ranking follows the team's disappointment performance at the recently concluded Women's Summer Olympics football event in Paris, France. The Falcons failed to progress to the quarterfinals after suffering 3 consecutive defeats, losing 1-0 to Brazil and Spain, and a heavy 3-1 defeat to Japan, finishing at the bottom of Group C. And that's it on the news at 6, but just before we go, slow down at road junctions, intersections, and pedestrian crossings. You can follow us and like all of our social media platforms: X at Traffic Radio 961, Facebook Lagos Traffic Radio 96.1 FM, Instagram Lagos Traffic Radio 961. Subscribe and watch our news and programs live on YouTube at Traffic Radio 961. You can also visit our website www.trafficradio961.ng. Did you know that the Sanwo-Olu administration initiated 500 hectares rice farm technology intervention projects? You can get more details on the Lagos State Government website. To end the news, here are the highlights of the major stories. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has unveiled 170 units of housing projects in Agboiketu local council development area of Lagos State. Wife of the president, Oluremi Tinubu, has suggested that for Africa to optimize her abundant natural resources and take a quantum leap in human development, the continent must look inward for solutions, starting with right education for her youth. We also told you that the Israeli army has ordered people in South and Central Gaza areas, previously designated humanitarian safe zones, to leave, saying Hamas had used the areas to fire mortars and rockets at Israel. And finally, sport, Nigeria's senior women's football team, the Super Falcons, has retained its 36th position in the latest global ranking by the Federation International de Football Association, FIFA. For contact with the newsroom, send a message to info@trafficradio961.ng. That ends the news broadcast compiled by Adesuwa Ejoyoka. I am Taiwo Baruwa. Thank you for listening. Good evening.